from mounds to valleys, the remains of giants have been dug up, photographed, and quietly removed from public record. If you wonder why, then brace yourself. The official backstory runs deep, far deep into uncountable millennia back in time. Where did those giant bones come from? What if they belong to the descendants of the Nephilim? And if they do, how did the Nephilim escape the Great Flood and survive till this day? If the Nephilim did not survive the flood, then someone must have recreated them. This is the heart of the second theory, known by many as the second incursion hypothesis. According to the apocryphal Book of Enoch and Book of Jubilees, a group of divine beings came to earth in the days before the flood. They were known as the Watchers. Like we see in the Bible, the Watchers in the Book of Enoch took an uncommon liking to the women of the earth. And they did not stop there. Instead, they proceeded to marry human wives and produce hybrid offspring. In the words of the apocryphal book, they corrupted creation with forbidden knowledge. While it is true that the Lord sent the flood to wipe out their atrocities from Earth's surface, there might be more to it than what we ever knew. What if not all the Watchers were destroyed or imprisoned? This comes up as a valid idea, because in Enoch chapter 10, verse 9, we read, "And destroy the children of fornication, and the children of the Watchers from amongst men, and cause them to go forth. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in 10 battle, for length of days shall they not have." This means that not all were destroyed by the flood. Some were turned against themselves in battle. The second invasion hypothesis suggests that a second group of Watchers or fallen angels descended when the flood was over. Not only did they return, but they also restarted the unholy matrimony between divine beings and daughters of men. This would explain why giants suddenly show up in Numbers 13, making the Israelite spies say, "We saw the Nephilim there, the descendants of Anak. We seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes." It would also explain the troubling consistency of giant tribes across Canaan, that is, the Rephaim, Emim, and Zamzumim. If there was a second angelic rebellion, then the Nephilim did not survive the flood in the first place. They were recreated. If the recreation talk surprises you, think again. The Bible is not the only book that hints at this. In ancient Mesopotamia, their texts speak of a group called the Apkallu. These are half-human, half-divine sages who brought civilization to humanity after a great flood. Like the Watchers, the Apkallu descended from the gods, married human women, and were punished by the chief deity, Enlil. But guess what? After the flood, new Apkallu emerged. This brought about a second wave of divine human hybrids. There is a god called Enki, who is known as the trickster god of wisdom. In his case, Enki defied the will of heaven to share forbidden knowledge with mankind. In some versions, he survives the flood. In others, he returns. So we see that nearly every ancient culture has a version of this pattern. Destruction by a flood, followed by a return of divine beings. What if it were the same with the Nephilim? However, there is a huge deal breaker. In the Book of Enoch, we are told that the original Watchers were punished and bound beneath the earth until the day of judgment. Some were thrown into a dark abyss, locked and guarded by archangels. If this is true, how could they return? This led many scholars to argue that there was only one rebellion, one invasion alone. Everything after the flood, including the Canaan giants and Goliath of Gath, was the result of surviving genetic lines, not new unions between angels and women. Some notorious scholars suggest that only the chief Watchers were imprisoned, leaving lower-ranking rebels free to act again. Others claim that new fallen angels may have joined Satan's cause after the flood, carrying on the corruption from where their predecessors left off. If you found the second invasion theory terrifying, brace yourself. There is a creepier way that the Nephilim may have used to retain their DNA among us today. Picture this. There is war in the land, and everyone is running for their lives. Many will remember their passports and book emergency flights, while others will use alternative routes. For a hybrid species like the Nephilim, an alternative route may have been underground. According to some Bible theorists, the Nephilim were not totally wiped out by the flood. They survived by retreating beneath the surface of the earth. Caves, vast tunnels, and the hollow earth, you name it. The story of giants hiding underground is old news and universal. In Tibetan and Hindu lore, there is a hidden realm beneath the Himalayas called the Shambhala. Even the 19th century Agartha myth describes a sub-world ruled by citizens of terrific size and wisdom. Are these all a coincidence or scattered pieces of the truth? What if the descendants of the Nephilim escaped to the only place the floodwaters couldn't reach? It gets even more interesting with the Lovelock story. In Lovelock, Nevada, a small cave near the Humboldt River became the epicenter of one of North America's most bizarre archaeological controversies. 1911. The year when guano miners stumbled upon thousands of artifacts, baskets, tools, bones, and something else. They found massive skeletal remains. According to early reports, these skeletons measured over 9 feet tall, with red hair still clinging to the skulls. Newspapers caught fire with the story. The Nevada State Journal also reported in 1931 that 2 skeletons, one 8 feet, the other over 10 feet, were unearthed in nearby lake beds. Local museums like the Humboldt Museum held samples of the giant sandals and bone fragments, but over time the giant remains began to vanish. Some say they were turned over to the Smithsonian, never to be seen again. Enter the conspiracy alarm. What if a cover-up took place? With the government wanting to preserve the official narrative that giants never existed to start with, it is no surprise that the giant discovery stories are quickly buried. We know it too. If one giant skeleton were confirmed as genuine to the public, it could force history, science, and even theology to rewrite their stories. And this is too much work for those in power. Of course, mainstream archaeology says, not so fast. Most experts attribute the Lovelock discoveries to exaggeration, misinterpretation, or outright hoaxes. They say the so-called giant skulls were likely from large Native American individuals or distorted through storytelling. In 2014, the Smithsonian officially denied ever possessing giant skeletons from Lovelock or elsewhere. DNA tests on red-haired mummies from Peru, once thought to be Nephilim, showed nothing outside the range of normal human variation. To the public eye, no verified Nephilim DNA has ever been recovered. No skeleton over 8 feet has been conclusively documented and peer-reviewed. Still, the stories don't die. They keep surfacing, repeating, evolving. So if there's nothing down there, why are so many cultures so sure there is? What if everything we've assumed so far is wrong? What if the Nephilim were never fully physical to begin with? Some researchers and theologians propose a radical theory. The Nephilim were not just hybrid flesh and blood beings. They were spiritual entities, conscious beings not bound by death, flood, or decay. In other words, they didn't survive the flood because of genetics. They survived because you can't drown a spirit. According to Enoch and writings from early Jewish mysticism, the Nephilim's physical bodies were destroyed, but their spirits were not. Instead, they became restless, malevolent forces, doomed to wander the earth. This matches the description of demons in multiple ancient traditions, disembodied spirits seeking hosts. In this view, the Nephilim are not extinct. They're just invisible. And worse, they're still active. Some believe they operate through possession. That is, they embed themselves within humans, bloodlines, or systems of power. These carriers may not know they are host, yet they exhibit certain traits: a thirst for control, manipulation, cruelty, even supernatural charisma. This isn't just mythology. It mirrors Sumerian exorcism texts, Christian deliverance theology, and even modern UFO abduction lore. Once again, the question arises: are we dealing with ancient spirits or something far stranger? But what if the Nephilim influence doesn't require literal possession? What if it's deeper, built into our very psychology? Some researchers have turned to the idea of genetic memory. This is a controversial but growing field, suggesting we can inherit more than just physical traits. Trauma, instinctual fears, and even behavioral patterns may be passed down epigenetically. Now imagine this applied to the Nephilim. Even if their DNA didn't survive intact, perhaps their urges did. Their lust for domination, their obsession with forbidden knowledge, their rebellion against divine order, you name it. What if those tendencies echo through us? Could this explain humanity's persistent fascination with giants, hybrids, and transhumanism? How about our hunger for power, control, and for becoming gods ourselves? It's a chilling thought that the Nephilim are not just in our myths, but in our minds. Not just walking among us, but whispering into our beings and guiding us. But of course, mainstream scientists dismiss this entirely. There is no proven framework for spiritual genetics or consciousness transfer across generations. Theories of possession or inherited demonic traits are often lumped into paranormal pseudoscience, but the theory has traction in religious and paranormal communities, where stories of ancestral curses, occult bloodlines, and generational spirits are taken seriously. And the longer these legends survive and repeat across cultures, the harder they are to ignore. Whether it's literal or symbolic, the Nephilim may have found a way to live on, not in our blood, but also in our behavior.